You know, when you start your transitioning, you should expect people to look at you funny, okay? Not that it's supposed to be like that, but you can expect it. They're gonna say, what's that, or what is he or she doing? But I was willing to go through that phase to become who I am today. I knew who I am, I knew what I was gonna transition to. I know I'm a female. But now that I've gone through all of it, the doctors have given their thumbs up. I've gone through the psychological thing. It's unfair for me to go to the bank, stand in the queue, and then 10-15 minutes I've got a security guard behind me because they think I'm busy with fraud, or they're like, what's going on here? And I've actually got to lose my temper every time, throw my toys out of the cot and say, listen, yeah, that's me. And to the point where they actually realize, oh, this is the real person. Now it's just, even now with my male-female identity, having a female picture, male identity, that makes things worse, okay? So I've got to try and use my old stuff where it was just males, for instance my past, but those things are running out and they don't always accept those documentations. So it's becoming difficult.
So your gender marker, it's actually your sex descriptor. So in your ID, after your birth date, you have numbers that start either, if you are female, then they start below 5,000, and if you're male, they start above 5,000. So when you go to a bank or whatnot, that's how they look at whether you're female or male. And that's what a gender marker is. Because Home Affairs doesn't have directives, and directives would be a set of rules internally which stipulate how the processing of gender marker or sex descriptor marker changes are supposed to happen. So because Home Affairs doesn't have that, it depends, the process of applying depends very much on which Home Affairs office you go to. So in some Home Affairs offices, you might have all the documents that you need, but they still turn you away because perhaps they want proof that you've had gender reassignment surgery. So it's 2 doctor's letters and your birth certificate. But a lot of people don't know that you need to bring your birth certificate because there aren't any, regulations or directives which stipulate that. On the Home Affairs website, gender markers are indicated as a possibility of happening. However, the forms that you're supposed to fill out are not indicated, and also the time period within which you have to wait are not indicated.
I'll be honest with you, I don't currently have a life anymore. And this ID thing can resolve a lot of things. We had to give up my apartment, I had to give up my car, my job. I had to give up everything to come back to South Africa to get this resolved. It's still not resolved. 180,000 rand later, we've got nothing left. We're currently selling our car. And it's not necessary. They can just do the change and I can actually get a job as soon as my identity gets changed. We thought it was legit, everything. It was logged onto the system but no progress. It's just application 2011 or 2012, and that was it. So after several months, that's after I gave up my job, we applied again with Randburg. We found the general director's secretary. I'm like, it's an excuse every time. My doctor said to me, leave the hunger strike, leave the thirst strike, you're messing up your body. He says, they said they're going to deal with it, and I said to them, no, actually, this was last night now, and I said to him, no, I'm not going to back off. Okay, because I don't know if this thing is going to, he said, but you got all the thumbs up. And just as well, I didn't start eating and drinking again, because there's nothing that's happened about the situation yet. It's still exactly where it was 3.5 years back.
The challenges of having an incorrect gender marker are numerous. It goes to access to education, so being able to graduate from matric or from university with a matric certificate or a degree that reflects the name that you're using rather than your dead name, that reflects your correct gender, which of course then rolls over into access to employment opportunities, because if you have to apply for a job with a degree that does not have your correct information, that can create a lot of challenges in getting employment, and trans people are forced to out themselves to employers because they have the incorrect documentation, and of course then that leaves it up to individual employers to discriminate against trans people. There's also challenges in access to social security issues. So accessing shelters, accessing social grants is something that's very difficult without the correct documentation, especially as there's a lot of focus on trying to eliminate fraud and corruption, and trans people are often caught up in that because of the delays of the Department of Home Affairs. Freedom of movement being stopped by traffic cops, by police whenever you have to produce your ID, the right to vote, numerous things. So it really amounts to a denial of citizenship.
My experience as a student from the University of the Free State have always been challenging, in the aspect that I have to always or constantly seek to be recognized, as a trans body in particular. And also the experiences have been hard with the staff and the students, because they would actually label me in a pronoun that I'm not comfortable with, or even use a name that I'm not even comfortable with, and even not even seek to ask me what do a trans body want or need. So I'm actually stuck as a trans body, even if I try to reach out to the lecturers, to the professors, and inform them that this is the title I'm actually comfortable with, or I don't even want the title itself. It's something that is always constantly being postponed. We'll look into it, we'll address it, but it's sad because it's reality and it's not happening.
Yesterday morning when I went to work, I had the asthma attack. Then I had this oxygen and stuff at work. That was the primary care that I could get. Then they referred me to Sean McGregor. When I got there, I wasn't alone. I went with OVV. Then she assisted with opening the files and stuff. And while I was busy that side, they were examining me, and I was referred here. Then later in the day, I came here. I spent like a few hours by the admission ward, and later on, I was taken to the female wards. When I got there, everything was okay, and this morning I sensed what something was wrong with the staff, you know? They want me to leave the hospital because they don't have a space for me. To get the point. Because they don't have a space for me as a trans woman, or they can't keep me because of my sexual identity.
I think today we talk as if everyone has equal access to different opportunities, but so much of that is controlled by what documentation you have. So undocumented, migrants, trans people, we all share a lot of commonalities in trying to navigate systems that don't recognize us.
What needs to be done is that there needs to be clear directives from Home Affairs as to what needs to happen, what forms people need to use and when they apply, and also what documents they need when they get there, and also most importantly, clear timelines as to from the moment you apply, how long is it going to take for your application to be processed and approved and gotten back to you.
The limitations of Act 49 in its current form are twofold. So from a framework of socioeconomic justice, it's really an inaccessible act. It's drafted to be to cater to trans people who first of all have access to gender affirming healthcare, which we know is a minority of trans people. So for example, if you're a trans person living in rural areas or in the township and you don't have that kind of access, and you've navigated your own transition and used your own agency over navigating your transition, you will never be able to access the Act because you need two doctor's letters. And we know from our community that we have a lot of trans people who do navigate their own transitions socially as well as medically through access of different hormones, and therefore can never access the Act if they don't have access to quality gender-affirming healthcare, which is only provided in 2 hospitals in South Africa, in 2 provinces of Gauteng and Western Cape. So really for everyone else in other provinces and for trans people who are far from gender-affirming services, it's an inaccessible Act. The second thing is from a framework of depathologization. It's a very problematic Act. The Act says to trans people that you do not have the freedom to decide who you are. Rather, that is regulated or that is given to medical professionals by the Act and the Department of Home Affairs. So you have to see a doctor whether or not you feel that that's useful for you for your transition. And they have a lot of power, a lot of gatekeeping power in terms of will they write you the letter? Will they allow you to access transitioning services? So when we talk about depathologization, it's also legal depathologization. So getting the Act, having provision in the Act for self-recognition, which has been done in many countries like Argentina, like Malta, like Denmark, where it's an administrative process. You just go there, you declare that you'd like to change your gender marker, you fill out a form, your gender marker is changed. And that is the ideal, that's what we'd like to see happen in the country.
overwhelmed. Everything I had to go through, stuck in a huge tower.